Hello friends, my name is Evelyn Joy and welcome back to my channel. A while back I bought these lovely quilts from Walmart for like $20 each, and I keep them on my couches. What these do as a mom of 4 little ones is keeping a blanket on your couch helps provide a barrier to help preserve your couch and make it last longer. Anytime a kid spills their drink or has an accident with pee or throw up, it goes on the blanket and you can quickly wipe it up, grab the blanket, throw it in the washer, throw it in the dryer, put it back on the couch. It also provides a barrier for wear and tear, and as I will show you, I need to sew some patches on my couch. So let's remove the couch. Let's remove the blanket from the couch. Okay, as you can see, there's some wear and tear on my couch, but look, the staining isn't bad for how long we've had it. Yesterday, right here, was all torn up and I already sewed it. I'll show you a picture of that later in the video. Here I have some tear. Here I have a lot of major tear. So I'm gonna sew this, okay? First, I'm gonna take an extra thick needle and a thread that's close to the color of the couch. Then I am going to double thread it and tie a knot. My thread is doubled. And I have a knot on the end. This is important because if I were to thread it through just one time, the thread would just come out. So I have to thread it through and actually reconnect it in a loop. I have to put I sew the needle into the fabric, and then I have to put the needle into this loop right here and pull it so that it can't just slide through the fabric, but it actually stays connected. As you can see, I even have springs coming out, and I want to push those down and move this over, okay? I'm going to pull it up a lot because I'm going to be sewing this fabric. Now I'm not going to sew it right on the edge because it'll quickly come undone. I'm going to grab fabric together right here, pulling it up. You can see I've sewn right here before. I'm going to sew from here so it doesn't come undone. I'm going to sew from right here. So I'm folding the fabric over, pulling it up, and I'm going to attach it to here, right there. So you see me pulling my first thread through, and I'm going to put the needle in between these two to create a loop that will now stay attached. Do you understand? If I just put it through the fabric, it wouldn't have held. So now I'm going to sew it on. I'm grabbing a large amount of fabric when sewing through here so that it won't quickly come undone again when my kids pounce on this couch. I'm going to continue sewing all along here, and I'll show you real quick. I'm choosing to space it out the first time I sew it, and then I'm going to go over it a second and third time to reinforce it so it doesn't come undone, because I have sewn this part of the couch before and it's been jumped on by little children enough times that the thread came loose. So we're going to reinforce this a lot today. So you can see where I have sewn here, 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 here. If I left it just like that and tied a knot, my kids would jump on it one time and it would come undone. So I'm going to have to go over it multiple times with multiple threads, rethreading my needle multiple times to make this reinforced enough that my kids won't break it when they sit on it. Let's go. Okay, I'm running out of thread, so I double and tripled knotted it because I don't want the knot to come out. I knotted it several times. And now I'm going to trim off the excess and do again the double sew that I did before. You'll notice that I started from the middle and went this direction, and I spaced it out quite a bit because this first time is just to get the fabric connected and the other times is to reinforce it. So starting from the middle, because I pulled the fabric up so much, I'm actually going to continue and do the rest of this, and then I'll reinforce it. So I'm going to start from here with my second thread. Once again, I'm going to loop through and connect the needle into the 2 pieces of the double thread, and I'm going to sew over this direction. So I'm going through the couch for the first time with this new thread. I'm going to loop the needle through the thread. I looped the needle through the thread, and I'm going to pull it tight. And you can see I've got a good grab on the fabric. Once again, I'm pulling my needle through double thicknesses of fabric, spacing this out because this first time I'm doing it, I'm just pulling it together. Okay, now I have double and triple knotted it, and I'm going to cut it and get another thread. So you can see it's connected all the way across, but I'm going to reinforce and go over it. These stitches are like 1/2 inch to 1 inch apart, and so when I go over it, all my stitches are going to be close together, and I'm actually going to go over it twice because it's on a couch in a spot where my kids can easily pop the stitches. Again, I am double and triple knotting it, and I'm using double thread because all of this is to reinforce so that stitches don't come undone. Now when I go over it the second time, I actually could choose to go from one side to another, but just my prerogative, I'm choosing to start in the middle and come over here, and start in the middle and go over there once again. Just my prerogative, how I want to do it. You can do it how you want. Once again, I'm pulling my needle through big pieces of fabric, and because this is a new thread, I'm going to loop it through and pull it. Okay, I have now sewn from the middle over to the side twice. So the first time spaced out and the second time reinforcing. Now I'm going to go from the middle to the side another time, then I'm going to do it another time here and another time there, just to reinforce everything. And you'll notice that there's a little bit of bump of fabric showing here now. Now I'm going to be, just as you can see, the fabric tucks under. I'm going to be lifting this up and tucking the fabric under, and again I keep a blanket on top of my couch, so this little piece of fabric isn't even going to show the way that it is. The important thing is that we don't have a gaping hole, and this couch is going to last years longer because I don't have springs coming out of it. Other people would replace this couch for $1,000 right now. For me, I want to get my money's worth out of this couch. We've had it for 4 years. I want to have it until we feel like we want to change our furniture. I don't want to feel like we have to replace this now. So I want to fix my furniture. Let's go. I realized I should probably show you how I knot. So I wrap the thread around the needle 3 times, and then I pull it tight, and then I go through, I thread it through one more time, and I do it again. So even though I just knotted it, I'm pulling it through one more time and tying it one more time. That way if one knot breaks, I have a backup knot. Okay, so I have now reinforced it. So I sewed it one time, reinforced it one time. I'm going to give it one more for good measure. This extra few minutes of reinforcing it could keep the seam from popping. So let's go. I'm using a thicker needle because thinner needles, you struggle with them more to get them through thick fabric like this. There are also curved needles, but I don't see the need for a curved needle in this situation, and I haven't bought one. I'm cheap. I want to work with what I have on hand, and you should be able to too. Okay, I have now reinforced and sewn here, and I'm finished on this side, and I'm going to do over here. Once again, I'm pulling the needle through when I start off. Next, I'm going to pull up, lift up, and tuck in this spot. I'm now sitting where I just sewed, and I'm going to sew this right over here. As you can see, we have a tear going all the way across. So the first thing I want to do is pull up the fabric. Pull it up as much as I can and tuck it in, because I'm going to be sewing across here, right here. Okay, let's go. Okay, now with this tear, I just went over it one time, sewing closely together, and I used 2 different times I had to refill my thread, and I think that's good enough for this one, because this tear wasn't as gaping and it wasn't as big of a problem. I don't think this one's gonna tear, so I'm gonna tuck that in. As you can see, my couch is looking wonderful, but down here I still have a problem. I need to sew this. I'm going to grab the fabric and pull it over. You see, the fabric looks like this. I'm folding it under, and I'm going to attach it over here, okay, all the way down, and sew this as well. Then I'll be working on that side. Let's go. Actually, first, since this is a small tear, I'm going to sew this first. Once again, I sewed through the couch. I'm looping this through and pulling it tight. There you can see I sewed it. Now I'm going to sew here. This time I chose to do something a little different. I brought the fabric over and I sewed in the same spot 5 or 6 times and tied it several times, just to reinforce that I'm pulling this over. I'm going to do that further down as well. I'm now sewing this part. Okay, so as you can see, I just sewed along there. I reinforced several times right here, probably 3 or 4 times, just to make sure that this is going to hold together. And in doing so, some of this inside is like a foam stuffing, and I did sew through a little bit of this foam stuffing because I needed to in this situation. Now I'm just going to sew and connect all of this. Okay, so I sewed this much. Now, it may not look perfect, but this is going to hold better than if I hadn't sewn it this way. And I'm going to sew down here, connecting it as well, even though it's not totally necessary. It's just helping to reinforce what I've done above. Okay, so this is what I did here. And now I'm going to come over and sew here and here. As I'm sewing this one, see all this raveled fabric? I'm folding it under as I'm sewing across the seam. I'm folding under the raveled part, and I'm sewing a spot that is not raveled, and it'll look real nice. Now you have to look closely to even see that I even sewed there. Next I'm going to sew here. Okay, in this situation I can't pull the fabric up, so I'm folding this fabric over and sewing it down like that. Doesn't that look so wonderful? So much better than before. Now here, I could just ignore it and leave it like that, which would be fine. But I'm actually going to choose to sew these 2 sides together. Now this is not how this was made. Originally this was made for the 2 sides to recline, but it's actually broken now to the point, the wood has broken inside of it to the point that it does not work as a recliner anymore. So I'm going to sew this together right here. My helper woke up, so he's sitting on the seams making sure it's nice and strong. Oh, it's looking like there's a little hole here I need to fix too, so I'm gonna sew right here. Look! Okay, I just sewed that little hole. So I lined up these seams when sewing right here. Now I'm gonna sew down here. Okay, I'm actually sewing this and connecting it to the fabric behind it so that it'll be connected. I'm gonna do that over here too. Connect it over here. Now 3 of my kids are awake. I'm gonna fix this right here by connecting it to here and sewing it. That's interesting. It has a nail in it holding it together. Okay, so I'm gonna sew this. I'm gonna actually lift it up and connect it along this seam here. So there we go. Okay, so I'm lining these seams up and sewing down here. All 3 of my kids are awake now. 'Cause you gave me a heart and you gave me a smile. You gave me Jesus and you made me a child. And I just thank you, Father, for making me me. There we go. All done. Thanks for watching. Bye.